January 1959, 9 experienced Soviet hikers set out on a dangerous expedition into the northern Ural Mountains. None of them knew this journey would become their last. Days later, all contact with the group suddenly stopped. When rescues finally reached the campsite, they found only silence. The tent was still standing, but the hikers were gone. But the condition of the tent raised disturbing questions and changed the entire investigation. What exactly did the search team discover? Find out in part 2.
When the search team reached the campsite, they found a tent standing alone in the snow. But there was no sign of the hikers. Everything was still inside: clothes, supplies, and personal belongings. It looked as if the group had left in a terrible hurry. Investigators reported that the tent had been cut from the inside, but no one knew what could have forced them to leave. The footprints led toward the forest, and there, the search team made their first disturbing discovery. The mystery was only beginning. The footprints led the rescue team deep into the frozen forest. With every step, they felt they were getting closer. They were approaching a terrifying mystery.
Beneath a massive cedar tree, the rescuers made their heartbreaking discovery. Nearby, the remains of a small campfire hinted at a desperate attempt to survive the freezing night.
Farther up the slope, more evidence suggested that some of the climbers had tried to make their way back toward the tent, but they never reached it. By now, 5 members of the expedition had been accounted for, but 4 were still missing, and the deep snow continued to guard its secrets.
Weeks later, another discovery beneath the snow raised even more questions than answers. The mystery was far from over. Find out what happened in part 4.
Finally, the official investigation was complete, but its conclusion became a new mystery in itself. The report stated only one thing: the hikers died because of an overwhelming natural force they could not overcome, but it never explained what that force actually was.
That unanswered conclusion turned the Dyatlov Pass incident into one of the world's greatest mysteries. Years later, scientists reopened the case. Did they finally discover the truth? Find out in part 6.
The biggest shock came months later, when the remaining 4 hikers were finally found after the snow began to melt. The official investigation recorded that some had internal injuries, yet investigators found no clear external wounds that fully explained them. How did they suffer such devastating injuries? Was it simply a natural accident, or something else? What did the official investigation ultimately conclude? Find out in part 5. Finally, the official investigation was complete, but its conclusion became a new mystery in itself. The report stated only one thing: the hikers died because of an overwhelming natural force they could not overcome, but it never explained what that force actually was.
That unanswered conclusion turned the Dyatlov Pass incident into one of the world's greatest mysteries. Years later, scientists reopened the case. Did they finally discover the truth? Find out in part 6.
Was the Dyatlov Pass incident finally solved, or does the mystery still remain? For decades, this case has fascinated people around the world.
In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the investigation. Their 2020 report concluded that an avalanche was the most likely cause of the tragedy. However, many independent researchers believe that can still be interpreted in different ways. The debate continues even today.
That's why the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of history's most famous mysteries. Join us in the next series for another true mystery.